Welcome to video 5 in our series of 6 on non-contact cube decisions. We'll be picking up right where we left off in the previous video and do our final adjustment to our keys count, which is right here. This is the final adjustment that we do to the player on turn. We will go through several examples and then introduce the final step, which is the difference between the opponent's keys count number and the player on turn's keys count number, and that will give us our final keys count number, which will tell us what cube window we are in. Is it a no double? Are we in the double take window? Is it a redouble take? Or is it a double pass? So let's jump in and take a look at this increase. This will be a first of two examples to introduce our increase. We've completed our pip count and we've completed our adjusted pip count. And now we have to do our final increase. And this is, again, for the player on turn only. And this increase, we're going to take our adjusted pip count number and we're going to add 1/7 and round down. And don't worry, this is a lot easier than it sounds. There are two different ways of doing this. One of them I personally find easier. I'll show you both. So for this position here, we're going to do our pip count, nice and easy, 50, 60. So we have a pip count of 60. And our penalties, no gap penalties, but we have an extra checker here, so our penalty is 1. So our new number, our adjusted pip count, is 61. Now we're going to add 1/7 of 61 and round down. Now this is not the way I like to do it, but just to demonstrate, this is the longhand way of doing it. Our number is 61. We're going to divide by 7. And that would be 8/56. And that's it. So it's going to be 8 point something. But we're going to round down from the 1/7, so it doesn't matter what the decimal is. 8's our answer. So 61 plus 8 equals 69, and that is the keys count number for the player on turn. Let's do this position. We're going to do our pip count here. This will be 40. So 1 less than 40 is 39, and we have a penalty here. Even though this is above our checkers, we still count this as a penalty. So 39, penalty of 1 for this gap is 40. So our pip count is 39. We adjust that to 40. We're going to increase that by 1/7. So 40 divided by 7. 5.355. Okay, and we have a number here, but since we're rounding down, we don't need that number. We're going to increase that by 5. 45 is the player on turn's final keys number. It's pretty easy, and you don't really have to do it this way. This is actually pretty easy, but I do want to show you an alternative to thinking about it like this. So if you remember from the pip counting videos, I'm a fan of sequence counting. So just to review, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60. These are very easy numbers to count. The second easiest to count, 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. Something about that I just like. I find it so much easier. Now, with our keys count, with our adjustments, adding the 1/7, it's always 7. So we're dealing with a number that's always going to be the same every time we use the keys count. And since we're using it all the time, we're going to become very familiar with it. So what I like to do is just use sequence counting, 7, 14, 21, 28, 35, 42, etc. And what I do with that is I just think of it as a line. 7, 14, 21, 28, 35, etc. And these numbers always stay the same. So when I'm 7 or a little higher, I'm going to add 1. That's going to be my final increase for the player on turn. 14 or a little higher, I add 2. 21 or a little higher, I add 3. 28 or a little higher, I add 4. 35 or a little higher, I add 5. Now you can do this any way you want. It's personal preference. I find for myself this is easier and faster. It feels like one step instead of 2 steps, but once you decide how you want to do it the same way every time, because that consistency allows you to do this much faster. Let's look at a few more examples of our 1/7 rounding down. Let's do 10 examples of how I like to do our last adjustment. This adjustment of 1/7 and rounding down. So we've done a pip count, and now we have our new number, our adjusted count, which takes into account distribution. Now we just have to change our adjusted count with our 1/7 rounded down to get the player on roll's keys count. So here's our sequence of 7s. 7, 14, 21, 28. Anything above 5? 35, we add 5. Anything above 56, we add 8. Anything above 21, we add 3. Easy. So if our adjusted count is 36, we add 5. What if it was 28? Exactly 4 7s go into 28, plus 4. And these numbers are the final number, the final keys number for the player on roll. 60. 63 would be 9. We're just under that, so we're going to add 8. 22, just above 21, so we're going to add 3. 25. 41. 42 would be 6, so we're going to add 5 because we're just underneath that. 46. 55. 56 would be 8. We're just underneath that, so we're going to add 7. 75. 7, that's the easy one, right? We're going to add 10. 34. 35 would be 5. We're just under that, so we're going to add 4. 18. 2. And 51, we add 7. That's it. And this gives us our final number. And now that we have that, if you remember our original sheet here, we were after these two numbers. We know how to do the pip count. We know this. We know our Noel memory trick. And now we know an easy way to do the 1/7 rounding down. Now we have our two numbers. We're only concerned with the difference between these two numbers to get what we're after, which is our answer. So there's 4 windows we're looking at. We're looking at if it's a no double, a double take, a redouble take, or a double pass. So we take the player on turn's final keys number, we subtract the opponent's final keys number, and that gives us our keys count. If that final number is 5 or higher, it's a no double. If that number is a 4, it's a double take. If that number is a 3 or a 2, it's also a double take, but it's also strong enough to be a redouble take. Remember, when we're redoubling, we have a higher threshold for that cube. So 432 is our double take window. And if that difference between these two numbers is 1 or less, then it's a double pass, a very strong cube, and it's a double pass. So that's it. This is the criteria for the keys count once we get our final two numbers. For those who want a little more extra practice, I'm going to do 4 examples following this, but looking into the next video, we will do a comparison of the 8, 9, 12 rule and the keys count, see when each of them are best applied, see how accurate they are, along with a few tips on how and when to use them. So let's go to the 4 examples for those who want a little more practice. First of 4 keys counts we'll be doing, I always do the opponent, the person not on roll, first. And all 4 of these positions will be white on turn, white on roll. So, first thing we do is a pip count, +2, -2, 50, 53. 53 for the opponent. And no penalties. Opponent's key count is 53. Our keys count, +3, -3, 50. That's easy. And no penalties down here, just the gap. So we have a pip count of 50. We have a penalty of 1. And we do our 7s. So 7 times 7 would be 49. So we'll be adding 7. 58 rather. 58 and 58 minus 53 is 5. So our key count for this position is 5, no double. This position is no double. And let me explain why, this is a subtlety, why I choose always to do the opponent, the person not on roll, first. When I get this number first, I come back and I do this. Now the opponent's number is the easiest to do because there's only one adjustment. When I do part 2, I have this number. Well, this very simple math formula reads like a sentence. 58 minus 53 equals 5. The start of that sentence is 58. So when I finish with the person on roll and I get that number, I'm already there. As soon as I get that number, 58, I'm already halfway through this formula because this number is right in my mind, and all I have to do is take the one number, drop it down to get my answer. It's a subtlety, but it's a little faster for me, and again, since I do it the exact same way every time, it's just faster because I don't have to stop and guess if I missed a step or anything, because it's a system for me that never changes. Our next position, again, white is on turn, thinking about cubing. We're going to start with the opponent and the opponent's pip count. Pip count for green here would be 40, 42 plus 3 is 45. Opponent does have some penalties, the gap, 2 extra checkers, 3 in penalties, giving the opponent's keys number is 48. For us, we have 41 plus 2 is 43 for a pip count. No gaps, but 3 in penalties. 1 point here, 2 points here. 46. And now we have to add the 7s. And 49 would be 7, so 6 plus 6 is 52. So we have 52 minus 48 equals 4. And where is 4? 4 is double take. So for this position, keys count says double take. Position number 3. Again, we are on turn. We'll do our opponent's pip count first. Pip count for the opponent is 50, 61, and 8. Pip count is 69. 61 and 8 is 69. No gaps, no penalties. 69 is the opponent's keys count number. And our pip count here, +2, -2, 54 and 7 would be 61. And no gaps, but 2 points and penalties here for this checker. So our adjustment here is 63, and 63, that's 9 for our 1/7. So 72. 72 minus 69 gives us a keys count of 3. And for this position, keys count has us at double take, and if the cube's in play, it's also good enough to redouble take. Our fourth and last position to end this video. We are on turn here as white, and we're going to count the opponent's pips first. 44 is pip count for the opponent. Kind of fun. It's just 40 plus 4. 44. Penalties for the opponent. We have a gap and an extra checker. So 44 becomes 46. That is our opponent's keys number. And our pip count is 40. +2, -2. 2 easy ones to count. So our pip count is 40. Our penalties are this checker, 1. 40 becomes 41. 42 would be a 6-point penalty, so this is a 5-point penalty for our 1/7. And our keys count number is 46. 46. 46. Difference is 0. It's a really strong position, and key count verifies that as a double pass. So fun. That will wrap up this video. Only one video to go in this series of 6. We will look at the 8-9-12 rule versus the keys count, compare the two as far as accuracy, when it's good to use them, when it may be good to use one or both, along with some observations I've had over the years. And I will also share with you a shortcut for remembering the 4-5-3-2-1 to make this even easier.